Hey everybody, I'm Jack from Jack's Meat Shack, and today we're smoking a Boston butt from JL Butchers. So this is a really nice piece of meat to get to grips with on the Traeger. We're going to let the Traeger do all the heavy lifting today. We're literally going to rely on all the technology the Traeger has to offer, and preparing the Boston butt is really simple. It's a large piece of meat, so it can take a lot of rub. So what we're going to do is literally put a little bit of olive oil over it and then use some of my cowboy coffee to season it. Now it comes pretty much ready to go into the Traeger, but what I want to do is just take a little bit of this hard fat off, because obviously that won't render down and it will kind of affect the finished product. You don't want like big bits of fat in your pulled pork. So we're just going to take a knife, take some of this fat off, and we're good to go. I reckon it's going to take about 8 to 9 hours in the Traeger. We're going to wrap it about 3 to 4 hours in, but I'll talk you through that process a little bit later. So for now, all you're going to do is get your sharp knife and trim off some of the fat. So some of this harder fat here, we're just going to take away. So what we've done now is we've taken off a load of the fat, because what we're going to do is actually expose some of that flesh, because otherwise we're just going to season the fat cap, the fat's not going to render down, and the seasoning is not going to go into our meat. So now we've exposed a little bit of that pink flesh. I've left a little bit of the fat on, obviously, because we don't want to go too mad. And what we're going to do to help the process is actually score the meat. So we're going to do like diamond sort of incisions. So we're going to go one way with our knife, not too deep, maybe a couple of centimetres, and then we're just going to go back the other way. Like so. So now we've got like a cross hatching on the top of our pork. This opens up little crevices as well, so we can get some of the rub in there. It's going to be amazing, and obviously more sort of surface area to get the smoke to adhere to the meat. So what I'm going to do now is get a little bit of olive oil over the pork, and then on with our seasoning, and then it's going to go into the Traeger. If you don't have a Traeger or a barbecue and you want to do this inside, a good indication of when this meat is done is when the actual shoulder bone, which is here, pulls out of the meat nicely. It means the meat's cooked and your meat is ready to go. So let's season this up and get it in the Traeger, because it's cold out here. Okay, we're back and we're ready to season our pork shoulder. So we've got some olive oil just to help the rub stick to the surface of the meat, and we've got some of my cowboy coffee multi-purpose rub, really good for pork. A lot of salt, a lot of pepper, chili, and of course coffee, which is amazing with pork, especially when it's slow cooked. We're running cherry pellets in the Traeger Timberline 850, and we're going to keep the grill at 135 degrees Celsius for the duration of our cook. So we want to season all sides of this meat, so we're going to go with a little bit of olive oil. Try and keep one hand clean. So what we're going to do is tip our rub into our shaker so it disperses out over the pork a little bit more evenly. So there we go. And give it a good liberal coating. As I said, you want to season all sides of this pork, because eventually when it's finished you're going to shred it, so all the bark on the outside will basically get combined with all the flesh that doesn't actually receive any of the rub. So we want to get a good covering of rub all over the surface area. So we're just going to flip it upside down, and again olive oil, and again season. And then now this is where the clean hand, dirty hand thing goes out the window, because you want to basically get any of that rub that you've left on the board onto your meat. And that's it. It's ready for the Traeger now. So we're going to get that on. Right, we're about 4 hours into our cook now. The internal temperature of the pork is around 44 degrees Celsius. The bark has formed quite nicely and it's a nice dark colour. So this is what we're looking for now. So it'd be safe to wrap it in our foil. You can let this go totally uncovered for the duration of the cook, but it might make the process quite long. Because what happens is with your pork shoulder is it gets to the point where it hits something called the stall, where basically your meat is sweating out moisture and the internal temperature is not increasing. So if this happens, don't worry, there is ways around it. And one of them is to wrap it in some tin foil. So got some nice big tin foil, 10 meters, and it's nice and wide. So we're just going to put a couple of layers down, wrap it up, back in the Traeger with the thermometer inside, and then we're just going to let this cook until it reaches 90 degrees Celsius. If you don't have a meat thermometer, as I said, a good indication of when this is done is when that shoulder bone is nice and loose and pulls out clean. So you don't want tons of meat on that bone, it will just pull out nice and clean. But let's get this wrapped up. This is where we battle the elements as well. So as I say now, we're just going to wrap this up nice and tight. Okay, now it's back into the Traeger, and then we're also going to reinsert our thermometer, and we want to reach an internal temperature of around 90 degrees Celsius. So that was how to smoke a Boston butt or pork shoulder. J&L Butchers kindly provided this for this video, and we're going to see how we've done. So if we've cooked this correctly, the shoulder bone should slide out quite nicely. So we've let it rest at room temperature, so it's safe to handle now, and it's not going to burn our hands. And this is, yeah, this is shredding away lovely. Let's try a little bit. Wow, that's really good. Nice hit of smoke, nice chili, salt and pepper from the rub. Amazing. Thanks once again for joining me today at Jack's Meat Shack. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll be seeing you very soon for some more awesome videos. See you later.